Hello and welcome to the Service Ducks podcast. I am co-host James Downs.
And I'm Russ Shear, and we're here to chat about all things ServiceNow, everyday life as a ServiceNow consultant, new features, implementation successes, and perhaps more entertaining when it doesn't go quite so well. Hello and welcome back to another episode. If you haven't caught the first episode, you can find that on Apple Podcast or Spotify. So, welcome back, James.
Thank you.
What have you been up to? What have you been doing?
Well, unfortunately, the last few weeks I've actually been off with the old Big C, COVID for anyone else not listening.
You scared me.
Yeah, I know. Me. It's been particularly hard, and to be honest with you, still at the moment, although I tested negative last week, still feeling a few of the effects. So it's going to take a little while to fully get over COVID, but we're getting there. It's out and done by Christmas, so that's the main thing.
Was that your first time?
First one.
Your first timer?
Yeah, I was a COVID virgin. I've now...
I'll edit that properly, don't worry.
But amongst that, this week I've been doing some new bits and pieces to help towards my CMA
Oh, we love a bits and piece.
Which was to start sharing some knowledge and getting involved with the community forum, in that I've created a new post on one of the forum's pages, the Rise Up Connect.
Hey, where did you find inspiration for that?
I don't. Do you know what? You've still got more views than me on that.
Yeah, there's a bit of an in-joke there. I did a post going back a few weeks ago now. I did a YouTube video on it. You can go and check that out. I'll drop something in the description. But anyway, sorry,
yes.
Go on, James.
So
Plug.
As we were talking last time round about our journeys and things like that, the whole Rise Up campaign. I'm sure we'll talk about that a lot more as well. But I wanted to share my story again with the community and to give a little bit of advice, similar advice to what we've given on the last podcast, to those who are new to ServiceNow and starting their journeys. So I shared a bit of that.
Absolutely, getting involved, sharing the love.
Sharing the love. What have you been up to?
Oh, I like it. I just want to point out, actually, before I continue, I am going to drink tea while we do this, by the way.
We'll keep in the
slurps. If you hear any slurp, yeah, I'm a slurper, so...
This podcast's taken a turn.
Oh, it's still ServiceNow related.
Yeah.
Or is it? No, I'm a slurper, so if it gets too noisy, just let me know.
Turn it off.
Yeah, stop drinking it. What have I been up to? What was I doing last time? I was scootering last time. I've not done any more scootering round... Scootering, is that a word? I've not done any more scooting around London, annoyingly. I'll tell you what I have done. I don't know when this episode's going out, but we've just not long had Black Friday. And I bought... I'm a big runner. I'm not a big guy that runs. I'm just a big fan of running. And it's a hobby I got into in lockdown, like most people. But anyway, I bought the daddy of all running shoes, which I can't remember whether I've told you this. But yeah, I bought some Nike Vaporflies. If you don't know what they are, check them out. We might do a YouTube channel based on those. Who knows? But I bought those on Black Friday. I took them out for a test run, and they're absolutely awesome. They're absolutely awesome. I went out for a training run on Friday. Stick with us, listeners, by the way. We will get to ServiceNow in a minute. I went out for a training run on Friday, and it was a training run. I thought, well, let's just see what I've got. I did a 5K PB by about 20 seconds without trying to slow down.
Just having
Unbelievable.
the right equipment. That's what it's all about.
All the gear and no idea. But yes, anyway, that's what I've been up to. That is almost quite sad that that's the highlight of my week, but it is.
Yeah.
Don't care.
It's fine.
And then I'll tell you about my son's nativity later on. But anyway,
shall we move
Let's
on
continue.
to something that the
yes,
listeners are here for?
Something topical. What
topical.
are we talking about today? What's the deal?
Well, something very topical, especially in the organisation I work for at the moment, is the debate around hyperautomation and no-code, low-code. Are you for or against? What does it actually mean? what the hell is hyperautomation? Haven't we been doing that for years?
Hyperautomation.
You love that term, I know it, and I purposely brought this this term in just to annoy
Hyperautomation.
you.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. So I tell you what, you brought the topic up.
Yes.
You take us through. What do you perceive as? Sorry, my Siri's just going off. What do you perceive as hyperautomation? Because it is something we've talked about for a few years. I've noticed it at Absolute the World Forum I went to not long ago in London in November. They were talking about hyperautomation there. You see it on LinkedIn. There's a few webinars around hyperautomation. A lot of people, listening may be thinking, well, okay, what's this? Isn't it just automation with the word hyper at the front of it?
Yeah.
Have we been doing it all along anyway, and we're just rebranding it in marketing terms to make it sound a bit more sassy for new customers?
Exactly. It's very salesy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to say that.
It is.
But yeah, it is.
It really is. Yeah,
But
so
go
my take on hyperautomation, and actually it depends where you go to get the right definition for it, because you look at Gartner and they'll define it as like a business-driven, disciplined approach to rapidly automate processes. Blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You look at ServiceNow and the way that they are defining it, and they define it as a tool to allow you to build business application, extend apps, and turn, which I like, turn anyone into a developer. Is their word.
Right. So let me ask the question. So hyperautomation, is it a feature of ServiceNow? Is it a tool? Is it a physical thing that you touch inside ServiceNow?
No, it's an approach. It's a collection of features. It's a way forward, a way to automate and streamline processes, which was what we've been doing for the last 20 years.
Right. So I think that's key, right? So if you're a technical person, if anyone in the business or anyone comes to you and says, right, I want you to configure hyperautomation, tell you what to look out for, actually. If you've got recruitment agents coming to you saying, I want someone that's got 10 years experience configuring hyperautomation, run the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because it is not a tool. It's not a feature.
It's not a feature, but there are features which are going to help towards it. Things like...
Yeah, let's not muddy the water.
Yeah, but there's going to be more and more low-code, no-code features and AI and obviously intelligence and things like RPA, which are so underused at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to be used a lot more going forward. Things that may be perceived as maybe a bit gimmicky at the moment, dare I say. But clearly, it's unlike, the likes of what's happening to Meta at the moment. This could be something that is the future. And I still say could, because I'm still not sold on low code, no code.
So the way I see it, right, and again, I've not got the master architect qualification, so I am but a pawn in the ServiceNow chessboard. But you got hyperautomation. We've established it's not a tool. It's not a thing that you go and configure, right? But it's an approach towards automation within your business. So if you've got a business and you've got a function, finance, for example, and the finance function understand their element of the business more than anyone else. So typically, what you'd have in the olden days, in the days of yore, is developers would go in, or consultants such as myself would go in, we'd talk to the finance team and we'd help them automate processes and remove spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
But what we're saying here, a hyperautomation, is we're allowing the business or that function to do that for themselves, right? Is that what we're getting at?
Yes,
we're
absolutely.
Saying, here's the finance function. You understand your processes more than anyone else.
Yeah.
Let's help you and enable you for you to automate them yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're doing that by giving you things like Flow Designer.
Yeah.
What was the other one you meant? RPA, Document,
UI Builder, Catalog Builders,
anything.
all of these kind of like front-end UI experiences that you can literally turn anybody into as a developer. But I'm actually going to put that to the test at some point and get my other half on a PDI and, show App Engine Studio to her and say, hey, you build something for your business out of this, go.
Yeah.
Don't look at docs,
Do,
don't
do,
look at videos. Just try and do it.
do you know what? That's actually a really good.
Mm,
That's a great kind of podcast slash YouTube vid there.
absolutely.
Because I reckon my daughter's
I
10,
think you should do it.
and she came in the once when I was messing around on Flow Designer, and there's an app that they use at school, and I can't remember what it is. It's one with a cat in it. Um, it's an application that they use. It's free and it's got a cat in it. If anyone knows what it is, drop
Yeah.
us a line or something because I forgot. But my daughter walked in. She said, "Why are you using this?" Insert app name there. So she recognised the Flow Designer kind of format
Yeah.
from what she'd been doing at school. So I reckon if I gave my daughter a task to do, she'd probably moan about it for 2 hours and then she might actually finish it off.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a good one. So we've kind of established what we think hyperautomation is now.
Yeah.
And I tend to agree it is something that we have been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Many years. I think the only element I would challenge back and say, ooh, have we been doing that? Is allowing people within the functions, as in upskilling someone in a finance role. To be
Yes,
able
I
to
think that's
perform
what's
those functions
different.
in
It's
ServiceNow.
definitely more business driven and not necessarily
Yeah.
driven by IT and pro code developers.
Okay. So if we take that then,
Yeah.
if you take that concept, I'm sorry, I'm clearing my throat there. I'll edit that bit. What are the challenges with doing that? Because basically what you're saying, right, is if you own the product, ServiceNow, or you're an administrator, you are giving the keys. Are you giving the keys? Is that a good analogy? Let's go with it.
Yep. I know
You're
what you mean,
giving the keys to some people that you need to have a element of confidence they know what they're doing.
Yep.
You're giving them the keys to your platform, right? So what are the challenges with that? How do you manage that? Does it scare you? Does it bother you? Would you do it?
This what scares me, and I think the biggest part of automation and this kind of low code, no code, or citizen development is governance, and I think that's my number one concern for this is that there isn't many governance models out there to handle that. You know, how do they move things between instances? What kind of training do these people need? What sort of standards are they gonna keep up? And making things consistent in the way they're developing their apps. They're at some point going to get stuck. Who are they going to escalate to if you don't have pro code developers? So interestingly, we actually ran a really interesting test. So we created a challenge for people with different roles within our organization. There was a team of grads, there was a technical consultant, and there was an STC/architect. And we gave them a challenge to create a timesheet app in App Engine Studio, and that included, creating tables, importing data.
So these are people that know what they're doing.
No, well, the grads are people who have only just started out with ServiceNow, less than 1 year experience. They're really there to shadow and just understand what you're doing. And the technical consultants, you can think of people who have been on the platform for about 1 to 2 years. They can do the basic sort of configuration around ServiceNow. Whereas an STC and architect, you're looking at 5 years plus, really. A pro coder.
Yep.
So the challenge was there to kind of
Did you
just
say pro coder though?
Be pro coder.
You did.
I might have done.
Yeah. Okay.
I blame that on the COVID plus Red Bull that I just had.
Fair enough.
It's a good mix. So the challenge was there to get as far as you can, basically, in a time-boxed kind of manner. I think it was 2 days they were given to, create a table, import data, have a catalog portal, flow logic, all of that. And basically what the output of that was the grads managed to get as far as creating the table and importing the data within that time frame. The technical consultant managed to get as far as doing that, plus doing a portal. And the STC or architect got as far as doing the flow logic. So in the same sort of time frame, people had the built-up experience of ServiceNow clearly was able to achieve a lot more in the same time frame as a low coder or someone with less experience of ServiceNow. I mean, that may sound really obvious, but if ServiceNow is really going down this route of citizen development, then people, organizations really have to think about that because they're all talking about rapid, development.
So just on that. So hang on. So you've got three different groups of people
Yeah.
that you kind of just said, go and do this,
Yeah.
right? And did they all take the same approach, or did they, so for example, I'm not going to put myself up there, but I would say pro coder,
Yep.
right? Did you kind of tie me in handcuffs and say I must use template builder and app engine studio and all that,
Yeah.
or did you say I can do whatever I like?
No, so it was purely using App Engine Studio and no code, low code features. So
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
purely in there and building in the table builder and importing things that I've seen on the Service Nerd channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like that, don't you?
I do. I tell you what'd be really interesting though, mate, is if you kind of did the same test but said to tech consultants, and I'm going slightly off topic, but said you can do it whichever way you like.
Yes.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what it kind of showed though is that it's good in theory, but I think as things stand at the moment, I think citizen developers would struggle, and they would need that escalation point of a pro coder to be there. If you chuck someone new like your daughter at Flow Designer or even UI Builder, which is just a laugh on its own, they'd struggle clearly. They would need.
Yeah, I need to play with UI Builder more, to be honest with you. I know I need to do that.
I set myself a goal with UI Builder. I started a brand new portal from scratch, so not from a template or anything else, and I just wanted to create a homepage. I think within 2 hours, I created 3 components. One of them was connected to data, and it looked awful. Whereas I think in the standard, service portals and building up portals that way, I think I would have created at least 3 pages within a few hours.
But then it's isn't it an element of, and I was going to say I hate this terminology, but I actually quite like it. Isn't it an element of short-term pain for long-term gain? So you're going to have that kind of curve, aren't you, where you've got that learning curve, and then you're going to start accelerating. And that, for me, is going to be the same as, do we call them citizen developers, or let's just call them people in the business that we're going to train on ServiceNow to do some stuff?
Yeah.
That's a snappy title.
Yeah, that'll go in. Yeah.
But once they are trained,
yeah,
they're going to understand the processes inside their functions a lot better than a technical consultant. They are, and they're gonna be able to recognise the edge cases, spot opportunities for automation.
Yeah.
So you might have them develop an application. Let's say it takes twice or 3 times as long as
I see what you mean.
a TC, right?
Yep.
But once it's there, they're going to be able to spot opportunities, and any future enhancements that's coming, they're going to be doing that themselves. They're going to be going on that learning curve.
Yeah, it's on their time frame. So you're saying that outweighs the value of this being done by a pro coder?
I guess I'm just considering it, because that would be, arguably, if you think of it from a budget point of view, that would be on the function budget rather than coming back to IT.
Yep.
There'd be an element of hand holding. I get that.
Yep.
And cuddling. And I think as technical people or ecosystem service now, we need to think about that in terms of how do we gear ourselves up to do that. If you inside a company itself, maybe you think of a charging model of, one of your services that you're offering the business is hand holding with citizen developers.
Yeah.
And is there a better way of doing that? Is there any, is there a better way of holding people's hands rather than just having to sit them and show them all the time?
Yeah.
Because that's a skill set in itself, isn't it?
You're right.
You need to be a certain individual to help someone out.
Yeah, and it's a completely different mindset. It's a different approach. It's
Yep.
Yeah, I think whether we like it or not, it's probably the future of service now.
But
I think.
I can tell you one thing I don't get on board with, because I sit on the fence. Right, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
For to move businesses forward. I think. I think automation's here to stay. It's only going to get more prevalent in the industry as a whole. But the one thing, it's all very well helping people, enabling people, training people, setting up that kind of
Yeah.
physical governance structure to make sure no one's doing anything untoward on the platform, or there's use cases where duplication of apps won't happen. You can put that kind of technical governance in place, right? I get that, but how? If you're going to say, here you go, finance function, because that's our example. If you say, here you go, finance function, go and create your apps and automate whatever you like. Don't bother us, or do bother us, but we'll just help you out whenever we need to. How do you keep control of things like licenses? So things like licenses are based on applications and tables, and possibly even to the extent of fields on tables. How do you keep that under control?
Yeah, and this is the mess, right? Isn't it? Yeah.
And I want to caveat that, actually. If anyone's listening to that and I'm mentioning licensing thing, the caveat is, if you want any help with licensing, please speak to your ServiceNow.
That's the 101 answer, isn't it? We're not responsible for anything we say around licensing.
Anything we're saying, we're just
it's all
word
for
of caution.
Free.
Shut up. Edit that.
Russ said that.
But you get the point, right?
Yes.
How are you going to keep that under control?
And that's why my number one concern, as I said at the start, was governance. And I think ServiceNow's got a way to go to making that abundantly clear about how these.
So hang on,
you
said that at the start, so we could have just saved all this waffle.
We could have saved this
with your
15 minutes and just ended it there.
Sorry, mate. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's all good. But this is all something that we all have to think about now. I think it's such a trend at the moment, and it's worth the investigation. So I guess my call to action for those out here listening to this is, one, to give it a go. So if you've not played with, the App Engine Studio and tried to import data, and building up experiences, definitely just give it a go and get your own opinion of it. Get your daughter on it. Get your get your wife on it. Get your husband on it.
Get your nan.
That's it. Your nan could do it. If your nan could do it, then ServiceNow's won life. But yeah, give it a go. Watch the Service Nerd YouTube channel to have a look at the low-code videos. So some really good stuff on there about how to do it as well. But yeah, form your own opinion, form your own governance models. It's going to improve as the releases come to make it a lot easier for this stuff. But yeah, I think there's a lot to be done in the whole governance side of things.
Yeah, absolutely, agree. It sounds like that's a natural place to wrap it up. Yeah. I know we haven't necessarily come to an absolute finite conclusion in terms of do this and everything will be okay. But I think that the points are the same.
Space. Yeah.
Yeah, watch this space. We'll absolutely certainly talk about this again. Maybe we should get some people on to talk about this as well.
Yep, I agree.
I'd say to you, it would be really, really nice if there's anyone that is that person inside a business function, so not necessarily IT, doesn't really know much about ServiceNow or just starting their journey on ServiceNow and part of a business function, and would like to drop us a line or perhaps come on and chat about it and share their experiences and what they know and feedback. That would be really good. Perhaps we can get someone like that on.
That'd be brilliant.
So if you know anyone, drop us an email. So I think that concludes us for today.
Yep, I think so. That's all for today's podcast. Thank you for listening, and if you want to get your question answered by the Service Ducks, get in touch through talktotheduck@service-ducks.com, or just use one of the links below.